When it comes to superheroes, my personal favorite among all is Spider-Man. As a kid, I used to watch the 90s cartoon all the time. I had some action figures, but none of the comic books. But recently, I have started collecting and reading all the comic books. The new movie titled The Amazing Spider-Man is out and has actually revived my interest in Spider-Man itself, specifically the original trilogy of movies starring Tobey Maguire. It might come as a disappointment that my prime focus is going to be on the movies, but if I were to include every animated series, I'd be here till next month. As an added bonus, I'll even give my thoughts on The Amazing Spider-Man. Now don't worry, I'm not going to give anything away, but I have seen it and I will express my opinion on it. Alright, let's get this party started. Spider-Man from 2002. I was about 10 years old when this movie came out. I didn't see it until it came out on DVD, and back then, I thought it was great. But I was 10. I didn't focus on the acting, the characters, or the story. I just cared about the fighting and action scenes. But now, I have a more adult perspective, so I can rightfully say the movie's good. It had a good story, the action scenes were good, the special effects, for the most part, were real good, and overall, it was a good movie. Not a masterpiece, but good. On a scale of 1 to 10, I give it 7.5 out of 10. In 2004, the sequel, Spider-Man 2, came out, and this time around, it was different. I actually went to go see this in the theater with my uncle, and wow, all I can say is it was really good. It was one of those rare times where the sequel is better than the prequel. I specifically loved how it focused on Peter having to find a way to balance his personal life with the superhero life. Plus, what he was going through with him losing all his powers due to his struggles with his actual life. I thought this one was the best of the trilogy. The action was better, the fight with Doc Ock on the building, and at the end of the movie, it was great. There's really nothing I can say. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, I say it gets an 8.5 out of 10. Now, we move on to Spider-Man 3, which came out in 2007. I saw it on DVD this time, but when I did, I honestly couldn't believe it was hated by everyone. I'll admit, I didn't like it as much as the second one, but I didn't think it was terrible, or even bad. It was a bit silly, and I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about, but it didn't really bother me much. If anything, I thought it was hilarious. It shows that they were really having fun making this movie. I've heard many complaints saying that there was too many villains. Well, honestly, I would have rather seen 3 villains than just one again. I also hear people complain about Venom having hardly any screen time. Well, all I can say to that is it shouldn't have come as a surprise. The symbiote takes over Peter Parker, and that really was the main focus of the movie. Now that being said, the main villain should actually be considered Spider-Man. He becomes an arrogant asshole and drives a wedge between him and his loved ones. So when he tears off the black suit, it's like he's tearing out his evil side, and it takes a shape and form. In this case, Eddie Brock, better known as Venom. And personally, I like the ending, how Sandman, Harry, and Peter all have to forgive each other. It's not often you see a hero and villain come together and make an agreement. Bottom line, the movie was good. It had its flaws, it could have been better, but no movie is perfect. As for the rating, I give it an 8 out of 10. Now, time to move on to the new movie, The Amazing Spider-Man. Like I said, I'm not going to spoil anything, so this will be brief, but all I can say is, it was pretty damn good. When comparing the Spidey suits, I have conflicting opinions. I like the classic look, but the new one gives us a nice upgrade while still resembling Spider-Man. So, I gotta go with the new one. When comparing Andrew Garfield to Tobey Maguire, I can't really say much. Tobey looks more like Peter Parker from the old cartoon, but he doesn't really sound like him. He mumbled an awful lot and wasn't very funny in the original trilogy, whereas Andrew Garfield pulls off the comedy of Spider-Man pretty well. On the other hand, they both pulled off the intelligence of Peter Parker. So in the long run, I guess I prefer Andrew Garfield, but that's just my opinion. That's also not to say Tobey Maguire was bad. He was actually good. But, yeah, moving on. What made this new movie so good is it felt more like Spider-Man to me than the original trilogy. Don't get me wrong, I like the original 3 movies, but honestly, I gotta say I like this new one a lot better. It was darker, it had comedic elements, and personally, I like the love story between Peter and Gwen in the new movies more than Peter and Mary Jane in the original. Even though that is the main love story in every Spider-Man cartoon I ever watched. That's excluding the Spectacular Spider-Man, which I never watched much of. Sorry. One thing I didn't really like, and this may come off as a spoiler, but here it is. I didn't like that his mask was off for a majority of the time he was Spider-Man. But that's really all I'm going to complain about. My rating, I give it a 9.5 out of 10. Now you might disagree with me on all this, and that's fine. I just wanted to express my opinion on all the Spider-Man movies that have come out at this point. But one thing we can all agree on, Spider-Man kicks ass, and always will. I leave you with these words of wisdom. With great power comes great responsibility.